Hello. Welcome to Jack's Movie Recap. I'm Jack, your content creator. Now let's recap the blockbuster hits of 2018 with the title, Rampage. So if you like this video, please comment, like, and subscribe. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
River.
I was just thinking the only thing that's missing right now is a giant crocodile.
A 30 to foot tall gorilla treats a tank like a toy. The fearsome flying wolf not only has sharp fangs, but also carries its own hidden weapons. It can easily destroy military fighter jets. Suddenly, a 10,000-ton crocodile emerges from the water. The mercenary leader is running through the woods. His team members are all dead. A few hours earlier, they had vowed to capture the owner of this huge footprint, but the flying wolf came out of nowhere and killed 2 of his team members. Not only that, the wolf could also fly. It can easily dodge most bullets. The rest of the bullets are no threat to it at all. After that, only the mercenary leader was left alive. Luckily, there were helicopters in the air to support it, but even the submachine guns with huge firepower can't harm the flying wolf. Moreover, the flying wolf would find the right moment to jump up from the cliff and pounce on the helicopter in the air. The helicopter crashed. This mercenary team was completely wiped out. But where did this killer wolf come from? It turns out that a small space station had exploded a day earlier, and it was only a mutated rat that caused the explosion. Everyone was killed by it. Only one doctor was left alive. Carrie wanted to escape, and the company threatened she had to take the samples of the experiment, so she had to risk it. Her escape was fraught with danger. Carrie escaped into the lifeboat and kept the giant rats out of the door. Just when Carrie thought she was safe, the glass of the lifeboat slowly began to break because of the attack of the giant rats. Eventually, the lifeboat exploded and disintegrated in the air. The 3 samples fall to Earth at a great speed because of the special packaging. Meanwhile, Davis was communicating with a white gorilla he kept. His name is George and he is as tall as Davis. He has a very high IQ and can communicate with humans through sign language. George not only has a lot of emotion, he is also a gorilla who can communicate his emotions by giving the middle finger. That night, a sample from the space station fell near George. George touched it with curiosity. However, the sample emitted green gas, which caused George to become infected. The next day when Davis arrived at the zoo, he accidentally learned that George had broken into the brown bear's territory, and George also broke the bear's neck with his bare hands. This would not have been possible because brown bears are the most invincible animals on land. George was hiding in the cave and was still conscious. He was very sorry for what had happened after Davis, and he had a serious talk. George slowly came out of the cave. Davis was then to see him come out. George, who was once as tall as Davis, grew taller than 2 of his after one night. Davis took him back to the quarantine and gave him a medical examination. The results of the examination showed that George had gained more than 200 kilograms overnight. Just when Davis didn't know what to do, a woman named Kate found them. She clearly stated George's current health condition. She told Davis that George had been infected by a drug created by the genetic company. It was a mixture of extreme genes from many animals. George would have the growth rate of a blue whale, the strength of a narwhal, and the speed of a cheetah. George was hungry because he was growing so fast. He became manic, so he picked up a slab of stone and smashed it against the iron door. He smashed the cage a few times and broke it. George ran out. The building is like a toy to him. He could break the wall with one touch. He jumped out of the zoo, thus scaring the crowd. Soon the police arrived. With the help of a tranquilizer gun, they restrained the frenzied George, and Davis and Kate were taken on a plane by a group of unknown people. The leader of the group said they were from the government. They are in charge of solving the beast crisis. But the beast is not only George. There's also a flying wolf. It has easily eaten an elite special forces unit. Even the helicopter was destroyed by it, and the culprit of the behemoth crisis. It is the siblings Claire and Brett. At this time, they are still trying to get a sample of the beast. because the genetic sample contains the genes of the bat, so they wanted to use special sound waves to attract the beast to the city, so that the military could kill them and use it as a bargaining chip. Soon the sonic device was turned on. This rampaging gorilla was sleeping. Suddenly it hears a special sound and goes berserk. The cage is unable to contain the growing George. His huge hand ripped the cage apart. George breaks free from the cage as he stretches his limbs. All the guns and ammunition couldn't hurt him. All the people on the plane with guns were killed by him. At this point, the plane was also blown up by a bomb, which caused it to crash. Davis told Kate to put on the parachute and escape first. He puts a parachute on the unconscious agent and jumps off the plane with him. George can only follow the plane crashed in the field. By the time Davis and the others arrived at the crash site, George's body was nowhere to be found. Apparently it had escaped. Davis and Kate were taken to an Air Force base. The rampaging beasts are now a scourge on humanity. The military had to be mobilized to destroy them. By now, George has rejoined the Flying Wolves and is headed to Chicago to attack the humans. When they arrive at the ambush site the military has set up, they activated the bombs thinking that this would destroy the monsters, although it was an incredibly powerful ambush. But unfortunately, not only did the ambush fail to kill the beasts, instead, all the soldiers in the vicinity were killed by the beasts. Davis learns from Kate that the cure is available at the Genetic Corporation, so he steals a helicopter with the help of the agents. Meanwhile, the military has set up a heavy network of firepower in Chicago. But these weapons are worthless against these behemoths. Tanks and planes are like toys to these gigantic beasts. Flying Wolf's body also spreads out many flying needles. The advantage of helicopters in aerial combat was also gone. What makes people feel more headache is that a huge crocodile suddenly emerged from the river. Its size was even bigger than George and the Flying Wolf combined. Every step the crocodile took would shake the ground. It can bite a fighter plane with one opening. The sight of these attacks terrifies Davis. He knows that the only solution to this crisis is a genetic antidote. Finally, he and Kate find the antidote in the genetic company, but they were unfortunately caught by Claire and Brett. They injure Davis and take Kate to the roof. Claire and Brett are ready to escape by plane, but can they really get away? The three giants are attracted by the sound waves on the roof and climb to the roof step by step. George is an orangutan, so he climbed the building faster than they expected. He smashes the plane with one punch. Then he goes to smash the signal tower, which makes him irritable and crazy. Davis came to Kate's rescue in the nick of time. Claire is about to kill them with a gun. At that moment, Davis shouted at the ape. George shouted and scared everyone. Kate threw the antidote into the bag Claire was holding. Then a giant hand grabbed Claire from the ground and swallowed her. Claire becomes George's lunch. But the crisis is getting closer. The building is about to collapse as the giant crocodile moves in and out of the building. Davis takes Kate and rushes to the helicopter. The building begins to tilt. The helicopter's spinning propellers carry Davis and Kate slowly away from the building. The building collapses in an instant and kicks up a thick cloud of dust. The plane also slowly fell into the dust. In the end, Davis and Kate survived, but George also struggled to get up. Davis tried to communicate with George. George listened to his words, also showed a gentle expression. It seems that the antidote that George ate is about to take effect. Just then the other beasts also woke up. It was inevitable that a battle would break out between the three beasts. Davis skillfully brought his weapons and equipment to fight with his friend. However, it was not until he saw the two beasts up close that he realized George is actually the weakest one among them. What to do? The giant crocodile roared and rushed at George, but George was smart enough to use his tools to fight. George lifted the destroyed suspension bridge and knocked down the giant crocodile. But the Flying Wolf took the opportunity to sneak up on George. The two beasts tangled with each other. George grabbed the Flying Wolf and quickly rotated it twice in the same place so as to throw it out. But the Flying Wolf can't fly. Everyone was stunned and said of course the wolf could fly. Soon George was on the losing side. He was pinned down by the Flying Wolf. Meanwhile, the crocodile wakes up. George will definitely die first in the battle between them. Davis suddenly comes up with an idea. He uses the howitzer to draw the wolf's attention. Then he runs towards the crocodile. The crocodile opens its mouth full of fangs. Wolf leaps into the crocodile's mouth. The bite force of the giant crocodile was really strong. Wolf's head was bitten off in a few seconds. Although Davis' plan was successful, but this giant crocodile is too scary. They couldn't beat it. Davis had nowhere to run when he faced the crocodile. Soon he was stuck in a corner. Just as he was about to be bitten by the crocodile, George suddenly came down from the sky. He took the armored car and hit the crocodile with great force. The crocodile started to fight back. It bites George's leg and drags him across the ground. Davis tried to save his friend, so he disassembles the grenade and throws it into the crocodile's gills. Although the grenade did explode, but it still couldn't kill the crocodile. The crocodile is fed up with the tiny Davis. It was ready to throw its tail at him, but his tail was caught by George again. George saved Davis once again, but this time George had no luck. He was stabbed through the chest with an iron bar. Now I am afraid it is going to lose its breath completely. The giant crocodile rushes towards George. George tried to run, but he is quickly grabbed and slammed to the ground. Davis finds the downed helicopter and turns on all his weapons systems and rushes towards the crocodile, although many of the bombs hit the crocodile. But it didn't work. The crocodile bursts out of the smoke and finds Davis with a vengeance. George was soon cornered. Just then George saved Davis again. He held an iron bar in his hand as if God had come down. The rod pierced the crocodile's brain with great precision. The crocodile hissed in pain, finally fell to the ground and died. George was also exhausted of his last strength. He took one look at Davis and then closed his eyes and lost his breath. But just as Davis was weeping and grieving, George's hand moved a little. Davis rushed back. George closes his eyes. Davis pointed at him and said excitedly, "Did I just see you close your eye? I just saw you open your eye." George once again put up the international gesture of the middle finger to express emotions. He also mocked Davis to shed tears. At the end of the film, George reaches out for the survivors of the battle. He had his parents taken away from him by humans when he was young, but now George has become a guardian of humans. This has to make humans ashamed. You can subscribe and leave comments if you have any ideas. Thanks for watching. See you next time.